I'm Jim Check. You're watching Now Media. With me, special guest in studio on your birthday yet, Walter Gray, Kelowna's longest serving mayor. Thank you for coming in, and happy 85th birthday. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
I hope I get to 85. That's awesome. That's great. Lots of stuff done. But first of all, though, if anybody's watching and you want to have some well wishes, definitely comment in on YouTube and that, and we're watching the comments there as well. And yeah, so 85 years. And then served Kelowna 1996?
Yes. For 3 terms.
3 terms. And they were 3-year terms back then,
yes.
Correct?
9 years, yeah.
I asked ChatGPT lots of questions, and I also read your book. And we've got copies of your book here, and your son wrote this book, right, Stuart?
Yeah.
And we've got 5 copies we're going to give away 4. I'm going to keep one. I already read the book as well. And you served 1996 to 2005, I believe.
Yes.
And then you had a gap. Sharon Shepherd won, and then you came back.
Well, not right away. She did 2 terms.
Oh, she did 2 terms.
I
Okay.
was busy building another radio station, so I wasn't prepared to give up the time at that time.
And then you came back and you served another term and then decided to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And you're big in radio and media, right? That's kind of how you got your start in the Okanagan here.
In media? In radio.
Yeah.
Radio first. Well, actually, at age, I think 20 or something, 21, I worked for a short time at CHBC, did booth announcer, did weather, that sort of thing. Oh boy, has weather forecasting ever changed? Yes, I was. And we were never correct.
The people used to joke, used to get a better window.
That's right. And then my business partner, Bob Hall, who I met, he was working at CKOV as the news and sports director. And he and I decided to do some things in life together with respect to business opportunities. And so I was only in television for a short time because he and I had applied for and were successful in getting a license for radio for Salmon Arm and for Revelstoke. And that was the start. And then 6 years later, we applied for another license in Kelowna.
And that was out by the old Holiday Inn there, right? Isn't it the CKIQ or something like that? Was that the one in Kelowna?
Yes, that was CKIQ. Yeah.
There you go. Look at me remembering those letters, eh?
See, well, I think the call letters are nice, and then of course when we sold, the new owners changed the call signs. Of course, the way radio stations were being referred to became quite different, and so now those call letters are assigned to some little wee radio station in Tuktoyaktuk.
Wow. And then you lots of media, you got a lot of radio stations, did all that, and then what made you decide to get into politics here in Kelowna?
Well, I don't know. I guess it's just because of the things I was doing in the community, and I was one of the few in the history of the Kelowna Chamber of Commerce to serve 2 terms.
You were chamber president, right?
Yes, chamber president. I did quite a few other things too that would be in sort of the community realm, and I guess running for office as an alderman at that time, Jim Stewart was the mayor, was just kind of natural progression. I didn't have any kind of master plan for life or anything like that. It just seemed to be, what's next? Well, hey, I'll run for council to be in those days we called
it an alderman.
Alderman.
Yeah. And how many terms is an alderman?
Well, it's the same.
Yeah. But I mean, you were alderman
for 2 terms.
2 terms.
And then they were 2-year terms at that time. But I didn't run a 3rd term because I had other things I wanted to do in the business life. And I felt that if I was going to be on city council, that I shouldn't have other things that
distract you.
Well, and have to be a priority. I mean, when you're an elected official, first of all, it's an honor. And secondly, you have to make a commitment to be available 24 hours a day if that's necessary. And usually it isn't. Yeah. And Kelowna was much smaller in those days. In fact, it's more than double the size now.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you first moved here, it was like, I read in the book, 6,000.
Yes.
Can you fathom that now? 6,000? Like, wild, eh?
Like, I mean, gosh, Peachland is bigger than that.
Yeah, no, it's a crazy difference, right? 6,000 to what, we're about 150,000 now.
Well, I just heard some official from the city say yesterday that it was now pushing 160,000.
Oh, there you go.
And I don't doubt that.
Yeah,
because it's
lots of apartments going up, so it's easy to start filling those
just going
up. Right?
crazy. Just going
Yeah,
crazy.
6,000 to 160,000, and then if we take in the greater kind of Kelowna area, we're talking like 250,000 people, right?
Yes. Yeah, you would be. Yeah.
And then you decided to come back and run as mayor.
Yeah, I don't know what made me do that. It just seemed kind of natural. Although I must admit, politics generally, and I don't like to think of being on a city council as being a political job, but it is, because that's what people think it is.
Yeah.
Bill Bennett, the premier, one time was one of my biggest inspirations. And I remembered him saying, and anybody thinking of running for any office might just take his good advice, which was, remember, the day you're elected, you have this big stamp on your forehead, which is called a best before date. I mean, you could be doing a tremendous job, and then at a certain point in time, you don't win the election, because the public does like change every once in a while. Not every day, not every month, not every year. But he said, to which I said, well, how big is this window? And he said, 8 to 10 years, don't push it.
Well, you pushed it.
No, I didn't, because I went away and came back.
Oh, then you came back, yeah. So I guess you got to
6 years later.
Got refreshed or recycled. There you go. I got a hello here from you, and a good one, actually, from the author of the book, Stuart Gray.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the air, actually. He's in the air, and he's actually just said hello from... He's en route to Montreal.
That's right. They must have just boarded in Calgary a short time ago, and yeah, they're going on
the
a
world's
cruise.
changed. They now communicate while you're in the air and all that kind of stuff. A crazy world, eh?
Yeah.
Some of the big things, though, like you were mayor during some of the bigger moments here in Kelowna. Obviously, the 2003 fire was a big, big moment, and you're credited with a lot of your leadership at that time for, that was a troubled time for Kelowna, and obviously needed a lot of leadership at that time as well.
Yeah, I mean, just upon reflection, I think I got too much credit for, being one of the leaders to get us out of the fire scene. There were so many other people.
Jerry Zimmerman, of course.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Jerry Zimmerman, Ron Matusi. And it's terrible when you start
the
to make
name's
a
slipping my
list.
mind, but there was that volunteer coordinator. Oh, it's right there on the tip of my tongue. Oh man,
There were a lot of volunteers.
Yeah,
Burl,
Itani. Burl Itani. That was just right there, stuck right there. But yeah, and then you know what? And at that time too, that was one of the bigger fires that happened in Canada, because we lost a lot of homes. But the outpouring of support from the rest of Canada at that time was pretty amazing, right? Like we saw so much support come from all over Canada on that fire, right?
Well, that's true. And at that time, and I think even to this day, it was still considered the second largest emergency of that nature.
Yeah.
I mean, the size of the fire was bigger than the city of Vancouver. They talk about hectares and all this. Like, how big is that? But when you say the fire footprint was bigger than the city of Vancouver.
I remember that night when we lost all those homes, because I was evacuated. But I remember it looked like it was a wall, like that whole mountain was on fire, and it looked like this wall of flame coming in on Kelowna, and we had evacuated, like much of that in the Mission area, and then they were even talking about evacuating Rutland at that time, because they thought the fire was going to creep around to the east part there, and then go up to the airport and stuff like that, right? So.
Yeah, no, I mean, most of the heroes during the fire certainly wasn't the mayor. It was, other people, obviously those that are paid and trained for that job, such as Jerry Zimmerman, et cetera. But other people just, kind of came out of the wilderness and did amazing things.
Lots of people did more than you expect, I would say.
Absolutely.
The moments when you're called upon, and then you give more than that most people would expect. And that is a time when leaders step up for sure.
There's a funny story. I mean, hopefully there always is in life a funny story associated or not too far off from tragedy. But one of the jobs I had to do as the mayor is mainly stay out of the way of the people that are responsible for planning and fighting the attack, which there was no problem there. The relationship was good, and I wasn't at any moment in time pretending it was my fire. But one thing that was mine, I guess, is the requirement by one of the television networks out of Toronto, which would be Canada-wide broadcast on their morning program, is they wanted to get an update every morning. So I would be downtown at the Uplink place, which is on Richter Street at Doyle, I guess it is. There's a building that looks like a house, but it's not. It was actually an electronics center, and there was a big uplink, etc. And I'd have to go down there and be there at 5 a.m. approximately, because that's 8 a.m. in Toronto, and go on, and they'd put a little ear thing in me, and I'd be interviewed from some guy sitting at a comfortable desk in Toronto, and get an update. So mainly that gave me the opportunity of telling people that had been planning on coming to Kelowna for their vacation, you can still come, there's no problem, the hotel rooms are there, blah, blah, blah. The fire's south of the city, yes, it's at the city boundary, but it won't affect your vacation. So that was a PR thing, I guess, was assigned to the mayor. But anyway, the story. So they're ready and they do the countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, and I'm listening, and then we're on the air. And of course, the person interviewing me is back in Toronto. And just as we go on the air, I hear the sound of sprinklers popping out of the ground. You know how they go?
Yeah.
The Rainbird sprinklers, they come up about 8 inches out of the ground. And these things were about 8 feet in front of me. And so all the time I'm doing this interview, I'm just waiting, you know, about every 40 seconds, and right across my knees. And of course, nobody in the world knew this was happening. But it was kind of funny.
Yeah. One of the big moments for sure, and I can remember as a resident at that time, one of the big moments, there's a lot of hoopla about it, and we talk about it a lot on here when we talk about forest fires. It's the Mars bomber. When the Mars bomber, there's a lot of media saying they can't come, can't fly, can't land, can't do all these things. And then it became the hero because it shows up. Yep. It shows up, and you noticed it was here, right? Talk about noise, right? When that thing came down and scooped out of the lake, and then went over the housetops, my roof was shaking, right? As it went up over the rooftops, and then I think a couple days later, basically the fire was contained, kind of thing, and obviously the Mars bomber got a lot of credit for that,
for sure.
And it was definitely, I don't know if I think the weather turned that night as well. We had a lot of things kind of go our way, but the Mars bomber definitely was one of the big things, and that kind of really is one of the things. Having good firefighting equipment. Obviously, we faced a few fires after that too, right? Just having that initial response, and then having the equipment that kind of fight massive fires.
I absolutely agree with you. And even at that time, the Mars bomber was sort of yesterday's technology. And yet it came in and it wound up.
That's the old guys still have some use, right? Just like Mars bomber.
It was sort of like the aerial hero of the fire.
Question. There's no question. And it's been retired recently as well. I interviewed the head of Coulson Aviation just recently, actually. They're stationed, I think, in Comox Lake, right? Yes. And they have the largest aviation fleet in the world now, right? I think they bought a bunch of old 737s, big 737s now. Think about that, and they've got a fleet of these, and they have large helicopters. So they're all about the large, right? So, but that was one of the big events for you. But there's lots of other ones too, right? Anything that come to mind that when you were serving as mayor that that you got done that you're really proud of, and I thought it's council and as mayor that you got done?
I don't know that the word pride would be associated with it, but one of the things that was a moment, certainly in my time as mayor, is the ongoing lobby for a second crossing. This is a lot of years ago. We're time for a second crossing. Finally, half of the message got through to the government of the day, and they did build a second crossing, but it wasn't a second crossing, an alternate crossing. It was a replacement for a bridge that already had life left in it. So that was a bit of a disappointment, although now we still have that bridge. But from the day that opened, there is no question in my mind that the reason for the bridge project, or my lobby for an alternate crossing, would be we would have 2 bridges. Because right now, and we've had some recent examples of problems where it's closed, if that bridge sank, and I think one in Seattle did, but they had 3 bridges. think now, it would be 5 years probably before you could replace the bridge. That would just change everything. That would change.
Because we don't even have good alternate routes other than Rock Creek. You know what I mean? You got to go all the way to Rock Creek and all the way around. And the other gravel road
No,
out there.
this, in the case of people living on the other side of the lake, they would have to now go up through Vernon and back down Kelowna.
Yeah, there's still, you go around either way, right? But
Yeah.
but it's a long ways around, right? And you know, a lot of people during, I think we had an outage here just recently, and it was they had to go through the. People tried to use that old dirt road up
Yes.
by Penticton there.
Yeah.
And that, you know, it's pretty wide. I think it was in the wintertime too, or where they were trying to get down, and a lot of people got stuck and a whole bunch of things, right?
So anyway, the disappointing thing in most recent months was the announcement the current government made that there is no longer a plan for a second crossing. So I think one of the things you know, I can do as a private citizen, you can do as a media person and very well known in the community. You know, your wife, who's a past president of the chamber, anybody.
She's going to be the
out
next mayor, I guess. She follows in your footsteps, right?
What happened? Yeah, it's her turn, eh? Is to get that. See, it's not even on the agenda anymore.
Yeah, they took it off.
You know, for major project like this, and I understand that.
The Conservatives still want it on there, though. The Conservative Party does want it on there.
Well, then good for them.
Yeah.
Because that's what we got to work at now is get it back on the list. We could always understand that this $3.5 billion bridge project, 10-lane bridge down in Vancouver, which was $3.5 million. Christy Clark was the premier at the time. That was kind of eliminated, but we in Kelowna always saw that as being a bigger province-wide urgency than say our second crossing. But we're a big province now.
And we're the second most important hub, like as far as population density goes now. Kelowna, Lower Mainland, Kelowna, right? We took over from Kamloops a while ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, talking about that, though, too, is the airport. Getting the airport as an international airport was huge for Kelowna. Because I remember when I was a youth here, Penticton was the place to go, right? Penticton had the airport, Penticton had the mall. Penticton was, you know, like a place where the young people went. And then all of a sudden, Kelowna, this upstart.
Well, the only reason Penticton was ahead of Kelowna way back with an airport was it was actually an emergency airport for Trans-Canada traffic by air from Lethbridge to Vancouver, and that's halfway. So that's how they got their airport. That's why it was always kind of important. The airport is one of the, I think the finest assets the city has. Very few cities in Canada own their airport. The city of Kelowna owns its airport, but it's completely self-supporting, self-sustained, et cetera, and it's well run. We've had a very, very good run with the right people running that airport. And it
Sam
really,
Saminar, right? I think he was there when you were there still, right?
There were people even before Sam. Sam's there now.
Yeah.
Roger Selleck, and then it goes back in history. And there's always been a bright day ahead for the airport. And if we want to blame anything for Kelowna being too big now, it'll be the airport. Because it's what brought people to Kelowna.
Plus, you know, like with a world-class ski resort here, Big White, brings all kinds of stuff in here. And obviously Kelowna itself, right, is, you know, like you look out the window, we have a live shot in the background here. Obviously it's a beautiful city, right? The lake, quite the crown jewel.
Well, the year I was elected first term, that was the year that WestJet started into Kelowna. And then a couple of years later, during my first year term, Roger Selleck was working on, and I happened to be the mayor at the time. We then got the Alaska Airline sister company that goes from Seattle to Kelowna. They started out at 3 flights a day, and then I think they eased her back to about 2 flights a day. But that was important alternative ways of getting off the continent out of Kelowna was when that airline came in. So WestJet, followed by, what did we call the darn airline now? Anyway, it was owned by Alaska.
Not Horizon, but
Horizon.
Is it Horizon?
Yeah.
Yeah, so a book. We've only got 12 more minutes today because I do have Brennan Day, the health critic, calling in. But you know, we could probably talk for hours.
Yes.
But this book, Your son penned this book for you.
Yeah, my middle son, Stuart. In fact, you just told me, I didn't know until I walked in here, but my son, Stuart, and his wife, Kathy, are in flight right as we speak between Calgary and Montreal.
Yeah.
And then they're staying there, and then they're going on a cruise down to Boston out of Quebec City. So Stuart and Kathy, hi there. I understand they're listening in the air.
In the air, that's crazy. Where can people find this book if they want it? We got 5 copies. We're going to give away 4. Where can people find this book?
Well, I only had a limited number done. It's not a registered book. I didn't know that. Well, neither did Stuart. But that you could not. We could not sell that in a bookstore because it has to get a special serial
ISBN
number
code and all that stuff. Yeah.
So really, there aren't very many. We only did a limited.
So then these
thing.
4 are they're just like collector's items.
Well, they're gold.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just speaking of that bridge, the second crossing, if they ever do a bridge, the Conservatives, I'm going to definitely campaign to put your name on that bridge instead of the Bennett name.
Well, one of the pieces we've done making an assumption on the bridge, and I don't take credit here. Again, I was the mayor at the time and certainly was a champion for it. The guy that did all the work for the city is now the city manager, so that wound up being his reward. But we were offered, first of all, myself as the mayor, were offered the 49 kilometers from downtown Kelowna all the way to Coldstream near Vernon, all of the right-of-way.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
huge too, right?
Yeah, so we jumped on that, and so that was a task to staff to check it out. The railway wanted $55 million, and at the end of the day, he negotiated the deal at $22 million.
Good on Doug Gilchrist, right?
Doug Gilchrist was the guy. And
Doug's going to watch this. I know Doug's going to watch this, and there you go, Doug.
Well, he's paid.
You just put a feather in his cap as well, right? So.
Oh no, he's he really knew his way around, in terms of how we do it. I can recall.
You had a good partner when you were as mayor too, Ron Matusi, right? You had a
Ron was the city manager in my final years.
Yeah.
The initial manager when I first ran was Ron Bourne, and Kelowna, and I don't think the residents necessarily are aware, but I can look back now and look back, in time and look at currently what's happening, is we are very fortunate to have the kind of local government we've had for many, many years. Jim Stewart was my idol in terms of that. My other political idol was actually Bill Bennett. He's the guy, and this is anybody wanting to go into any form of politics should remember the words of Bill Bennett. He said, when you're elected, there's this invisible stamp, best before date, on your forehead. Mm-hmm. And no matter how good a job you're doing, somewhere between
people get tired of you, right?
8 and 10 years is when, even if you're doing a tremendous job, the public is saying, it's time for change. That is the best slogan to use if you're running for mayor and the mayor of the day has been around too long. Just say it's time for change. Because people say, well, change is good. And besides, the other guy's been around too long. So
you're 12 years and you barely beat out Richard Parkinson. He served from 58 to 69, 11 years. And then I think Colin Bergeron served 8 years, right? Mm-hmm. And now they got 4-year terms, so they kind of got a start on you, like a head start, right? Because like you said, you had 2-year terms and stuff like that as an alderman and that. Yeah. But like 4-year terms. Some of the other credits, again, we're going to run out of time here, but the Interior Health Building downtown, the Innovation Center, the downtown parkades. I don't like that one parkade. You're trying to come down that one, but the one there on Ellis there, yeah. Well, not Ellis. Sorry, that one's good. The one on
Leon?
Pandosy. Well, just off of Pandosy, I should say. Yeah.
On the one way.
Yeah, that one there.
Well, that was designed in such a way. At that time, there was this huge argument. Some people believed that the Leon and Lawrence should be like a one-way couplet. Yeah. And other people said, no, it should be 2 lanes. So when they designed, and the planning for that parkade was being done at that moment. And so they said, well, we'd better make the entrance work for either one-way or 2-way. And so if that funny little turn, I think that would have something to do with the decision that was made, which you have to make in the beginning, how to get into it, right? Yeah. And so I think that, but I agree with you. But don't worry about it, it's always full.
Yeah. One of the weirdest things when I first moved to Kelowna was reverse angle parking down on Pandosy. Did you have anything to do with that one?
Yeah, no, that was my very first month as mayor.
You got rid of it?
No, I was told to go out there. We're going to do this big official announcement, etc. CHBC was out there in black and white TV, and I had to back in my car. We were starting to promote, what do you call it? Back in parking.
Reverse angle parking, yeah.
And I said, well, look, for God's sake, give me a few tries because I'm not very good at this. And,
oh, wow.
And anyway, the idea died almost before the white lines were put on the road. And I think it's best that happened.
Yeah, no, yeah, that one didn't have a long shelf life. You were talking about a best before date. That one definitely expired before it got going, right?
Yeah.
Lots of great stuff happening in Kelowna. And again, happy birthday too. We even got you a cake here. We'll show the camera here.
Isn't that
There
nice?
you go. Look at that. We got you a cupcake from Cupcasian, just another local merchant here in Kelowna. Here, another like local business, and you've seen a lot of local businesses start. Some thrive, obviously. Like some of the big ones, like Kelowna Flight Craft, obviously would have been small or non-existent when you moved to Kelowna. What's your biggest memory? Like you've been here from 6,000. What would you say your biggest memory, not necessarily as mayor, but just the biggest change you've seen in Kelowna?
Well, I've been here since 1946.
Yeah.
I moved here. We started in grade 2.
Yeah.
And from Victoria. My dad worked for, at that time, Eaton's, which was bought out by...
Big deal back then, Eaton's,
Spencer's store. It was bought out by Eaton's, and Dad was the bargain basement manager. And of course, they got rid of all of the staff. So Dad said, now what'll I do? Well, I know how to sell stuff.
Yeah.
Women's and children's ready to wear. And so he said, I'll start a store in Kelowna. But he took on a couple of very, very successful, larger, Fumertons, Reynolds, George A. Meikle, and then my dad's, Gray's.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're going to run out of time because, like I said, I have Brennan Day, the health critic. So if you got questions for Brennan Day as well, in the public too as well, I mean, this is your time because we're seeing all these ER closures that are happening and affecting a lot of, these are the kind of things that you faced as mayor when we were, like you got to balance all this stuff. And as a mayor, you have to ask for stuff from the province, right? Because they're the ones that hold the reins on a lot of the money and all that kind of stuff. Well,
local government is, by law, the child of the provincial government. Yeah, they are the boss.
That's where the funding comes from, right? Like most of the funding comes from
taxpayers.
Yeah, well, but when they programs and stuff like that, BC Housing, all those different things where they kind of fund, because a lot of the problems get dumped into the community.
That's
but then
correct.
The
Great partners. Like, with housing and homeless and things like that. I mean, that is not a city responsibility. We're the victims. And we're forced into getting into
You had
that
some
business.
nice comments here. Somebody saying, like when Walter Gray was mayor, the city was very clean and very, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of stuff. Lots of comments in here, though, and lots of appreciation as well for you. And they're saying, just imagine. It sounds like my caller's in here already. So Brendan Day's in here. Can you let him know we'll be there with him in a couple minutes there? And I got to have you back, though, because we could do this for a long time. It's been great. And an old media guy, too, right? So Walter Gray, Kelowna's longest serving mayor, and 85 years old today. Happy birthday to Mr. Gray.
Feel sorry for me.
No, I think well respected in this community.
Thank you.
And that's a tough thing to do as a politician as well, right? After you leave politics, to be still well respected, and I think that is a kudos in itself, right? Because I know many people in this community, and when they speak Walter Gray's name, it's very well respected.
Oh, that's nice to hear. You have to run the people's agenda, not your own ego and
serve,
agenda.
not asked to be served.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's
absolutely.
The thing. Again, thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
And
appreciate that.
Thank you for coming in, and happy birthday.
Gotcha.
And thank you for watching Now Media.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.